When you cannot improve as a person or are not doing any meaningful work in your life, it is then we get into this state of blaming others, ripping some meager profit off from someone else's hard work, in this case their fame, to feel good about ourselves. Do we, who claim to have the land of God, shouldn't focus on bringing out our own divine nature instead of our animalistic nature, so that they are inspired to make better choices through our own example? Consider this: supposedly someone else starts giving your younger brother or sister such threats. Will you be able to sleep peacefully for that entire time, or will there be constant anxiety? Yo guys, namaskaram. So today I wanted to talk about the recent controversy that's been going on, I think, with the India's Got Latent thing. Well, first off, like, to be honest, I have not watched a single episode of the series, but just kind of hearing or just reading or consuming news and whatnot from the common get go, I've kind of gotten a sense about it. But yeah, just wanted to share a different perspective around it. So, of course, you know the entire story, and I won't get into the nitty gritties of it or try to pose as a morally upright person judging others for mistakes. Every one of us makes them. It's just that they don't make it to the headlines because we are not so important or have not done anything relevant in our lives. Who are we to judge other people? Judging is easy. Transforming them, which is a much wiser utilization of our time, is more challenging. Why? Because it requires patience, the courage to engage in dialogues and empathize and understand the other person's point of view. The second approach requires us to drop something in our own mind and break one of our own limitations. Please understand that when we are pointing a finger towards the other person, we are also pointing these three fingers towards us. What triggers us in others is something that we have within ourselves and refuse to accept it. Everyone knows that there are a lot of bigger and more important issues that need to be talked about and solved. But why has this become the most important issue? Is because we don't have anything sacred or noble in our own hearts and lives. A lot of us are complaining about the negative impact upon our children. Are the same people who were beaten by sticks in school, and not one of them, or let's say one of us, rebelled, even though technically it was against our human rights. It's not that the internet is forcing us to watch and consume content. It's our own regulations, rules, and habits as a person that matter, which we further ripple out to our families and the environment in general. When you cannot improve as a person or are not doing any meaningful work in your life, it is then we get into this state of blaming others, ripping some meager profit off from someone else's hard work, in this case their fame, to feel good about ourselves. We don't have the courage to accept within ourselves that we are failing as parents in this day and age to discipline our children properly. How many of us have read research papers on parenting, know how sensitive children are in different stages of their life, what their needs are at a given specific time, or what the child psychology says about them, different development stages of a child, yada yada. It's easier to shut down the cries of your children by handing them a phone so that they don't make any scenes when you're in your social gatherings, or chilling out watching series which objectify humans as sexual objects. A fake sense of order is what we want to establish to show the outside world how perfect and sorted we are, while on the inside everything is a mess. We like to kill time by being average and try to bring others down who, in their own capacity, have built something of tremendous value. We may disagree with people, but our jealousy stems from our insecurity of not living a life which we know deep within our hearts is true to ourselves. What deserves national attention will never make it to the headlines because we're not people who support art and dialogues which our rich heritage culture has taught us. Some idiots shouting in front of a camera are not working to protect the integrity of the profession that they made an oath for, but to maximize the profits of certain business people that help them to run their life of greed. Profit maximization instead of truth is what we value. Why news sells so rapidly is because it's easier to consume a small bit of negative information rather than taking the time to read a long biography of a person who might have achieved something. Our brains are wired on negativity, and it's easy to become hopeless in such a situation. Another thing that I found out is that we are so obsessed with perfection. The standards which we hold of perfection in our own minds onto others is what we ourselves would feel in our own personal lives. The scriptures of our country say that look for God within everyone and engage in dialogues and debates. The whole Hindu philosophy consists of debating and using logic to better our line of thinking. Yet now we have come to a place where we are openly threatening of sexual assault and wiping them away from the face of the planet. Aren't they humans, also known as manifestations of God themselves, even if we disagree with them? Do we, who claim to have the land of God, shouldn't focus on bringing out our own divine nature instead of our animalistic nature, so that they are inspired to make better choices through our own example? I understand that as humans, we are emotional beings who say things in the spur of the moment, but consider this: supposedly, someone else starts giving your younger brother or sister such threats. Will you be able to sleep peacefully for that entire time, or will there be constant anxiety? What if someone harms your parents? Are you comfortable entertaining this thought? What if you are not the one who is part of the mob beating the other person, but the victim here of mob justice? Will you weep then cries of justice right next to your mother and sister, who would also be crying with you? I'm sure a lot of us might be feeling bogged down, thinking that where are we heading? Well, it's not that that you should focus on, but your immediate environment. How are you improving as a person and helping others improve in your immediate environment? It's good for awareness to watch these things, but then mindlessly consuming such news will only lead you to a place which will bereft you of any hope for the future. What's the most practical way to solve the crisis in our life is what we should focus on. We should not be a part of the problem, but the solution in whatever way we can. However, you feel is out, but please note that before violently reacting to others' imperfections, they too have mothers, fathers, and siblings like us who are suffering day and night that something bad might happen to their children. The stress that these people might be facing is unimaginable, as we, the people who don't have that limelight, cannot even for 1 second think what is it to be like them. I would like to quote some of my greatest inspirations. One is Mahatma Gandhi, wherein he says, to err is human, but to forgive is divine. It's a choice that we have to make between manifesting our own divinity or giving in to our animalistic compulsions. Gandhiji fought our exploiters through the path of non-violence, which later inspired Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela to go to an extreme level of compassion to free their own race and country from their exploiters. We as Indians should live such a powerful life that the people in the outside world are inspired by our examples and not be racist towards us. They should correct their attitudes by seeing our example of living and rise with us to make the world a better place in whatever capacity we can. Secondly, I would like to quote Swami Vivekananda, who says, and I quote, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas or rituals or books or temples or forms are but secondary details, and I unquote. I don't know much about imposing a will on others using the slang of mothers and sisters, but at least in our life, how much can we control both the external and internal compulsion that makes us animalistic is how we will let the divinity flower within and for everyone around us. Let's not live a despicable life aimed at bringing others down, but live a life that helps us express our potential and also does the same for others. It's only by helping others that we will win in our own lives. What I have understood from my limited life and experience is that each action that we take has a cause and an effect. Maybe a lot of our actions are unconscious. Maybe it's time to become more conscious about them and see how we can create value. In the end, I would like to quote my mentor, Dr. Daisaku Ikeda, who says, and I quote, the world of hell is a state in which life is itself painful, where anything you see makes you feel miserable. Such people need someone, anyone, to be at their side. They need someone who will be there for them, to listen and offer even just a few words of encouragement. That's all it may take for the flame of life to burn brightly once again in the heart of someone who is suffering deeply. Just knowing that someone cares makes one heart expand, and I quote. Let's be people who embody the rich culture of our scriptures and bring out the divinity within each person in whatever capacity we can, and make India the land of gods again. Which, of course, starts from ourselves and our immediate family, and then eventually rippling out to the entire environment. Anyhow, that's a small video. Let me know what you feel about it. And until then, this is Debu Pindra from Debu Ki Dastak signing off. Cheers. Bye.